Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Real Freedom Podcast. And today we're talking about real estate investments like we do often. We've got Austin Hill here. And Austin's going to share his journey. He partners with his brother on real estate investments. He's an entrepreneur at heart. They've gone through a few businesses together before they got to where they are today in real estate. He's originally from New Hampshire, currently lives in Colorado, and then they've done real estate investments in Pennsylvania and in Alabama, got a duplex in Colorado. And so he's working on building his investment portfolio, works with finding partners who want to lend money so he can have as many investments as he can with as little of his money as possible. And so we're going to talk about how he does that. So overall, just a really great story of somebody who's right in the thick of building it and growing it, learning as he goes. And he's happy to share his struggles, his triumphs, and everything in between. So welcome to the show, Austin. We're so excited to have you.
Hey, Mike, I'm stoked to be on. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you just share a little bit about your background and how you got to getting into real estate?
Yeah, so I came from an entrepreneurial family where my dad always had owned his own business. He was the sole employee the whole time. He still does it on the side, but he was essentially installing file cabinet systems up in New Hampshire. And once computers got invented, that really hurt the business.
Yeah.
So, my brother and I got a good firsthand look at running a business. And, just because of my dad's relationships he still has a business today, even despite, who uses file cabinet systems now? Courts, maybe doctors. That's it.
Yeah.
So we started out and got a good just framework growing up under him. And from a young age, I always wanted to start a businesses. So I'll run through them. I won't have to, bore everyone with all the businesses, but high school, I did landscaping, started my own landscaping business. And then I invented a helmet that with a couple of friends, that was going to be, the base was a hockey helmet. And then you can use attachments to make it into a lacrosse helmet and a baseball helmet. You would market it towards youth athletes. That was going to be millions of dollars to get off the ground. And I thought it was a stupid idea. So we ditched that one, but it was good to get through that and go through a product all the way, get a logo, form a business, actually develop a business plan. It was good for, that was in high school and college. Then after college, started a business with my brother and another friend called The Buying Platform. This was a tech startup. The whole concept was to create, I always called it Match.com, but for small businesses. So if you're a small business and you're trying to buy something, let's say a golf course trying to buy fertilizer, you can log on to our website and you get matched up with other golf courses buying the same fertilizer. And then you guys can combine your buying power and go to bid with much larger volume of purchase, and you'll save money that way. That was probably $1 billion to start up. So we gave that one a solid amount of time, about 2.5 years. We ran that. My brother left his job. We split our salaries to get it going off the ground, and never got a customer. We got one customer on there, but learned a lot. Still is a great idea. I think someone should do that business. And then really through all of that, it led us to real estate, which the whole concept of starting your own business to me is kind of like a professional sport. Like if you're in the game and you're on the team, even if you're the worst performer and you own your business, if you're running your business, you're going to be much more well off than someone else who has their own, is working with a corporate job or something like that. And that's always been my mindset. So I try to start as young as possible in getting there, knowing that it would take not one, not two, but probably 3 or 4 different businesses to get there. Because everyone always hears businesses fail in the first go around. So that meant just start a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And we came across a few great mentors along the way. And by no means are we killing it in real estate, but we're pretty stoked out to be where we are.
Well, I think it shows, number one, traits for being successful is you're willing to take risks, right? You're willing to bet on yourself because you believe that you guys can come up with something. And yeah, if the business fails, you've learned a lot about yourself. You've learned a lot about handling rejection, reiterating and moving forward. So there's a lot of valuable lessons there for figuring things out versus somebody who's like, hey, I just want to check into this job, collect my salary. You've learned a lot, and this is all education that you're now applying in your future businesses as you go.
And I should know, I'm an engineer as well. So I was doing all this while I had a job.
Mm-hmm.
And, just trying to get there. And I've left my job last November, allowing me to do real estate full time. But yeah, rejection is definitely a thing that you come to terms with in real estate or just in general life. But I know the listeners here, you're on podcast, but Mike can see me. I'm a strapped young man, with long hair, and I just haven't been rejected too much from a dating standpoint or anything. So I had to go to business to find my rejections.
Yes. Yeah. Those folks watching this on YouTube can see your beautiful eyes and your nice hair, your flowing hair.
I didn't know we were on YouTube.
Yes.
Then if you're listening, you got to check it out. Yeah.
That's right. Go to YouTube and check out Austin. So yeah, let's chat a little bit then about getting into real estate. So, you're working on these other businesses, you're working your job, your brother's working his job. How did you guys get into investments?
Yeah. So my brother was in Toastmasters, which, are you familiar with Toastmasters?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The public speaking organization where essentially it's just a bunch of people. It's probably like $20 a year to join, and you can join your local community and you give speeches, table topics, all types of different things with the goal to become better at public speaking. So my brother was doing that. He's kind of a wild guy. So he was giving a lot of like pretty funny speeches. He was treating it more like stand-up comedy, I think.
Yep.
But anyways, he got some good friends in the Toastmasters group. And one of them, a guy by the name of Brian Elwood, who was a real estate coach. He's moved on to coaching and coaching coaches now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But he really became good friends with my brother. Never really talked about business. Between the two of them, never did. They just were good friends. They'd go to the bars, hang out, just good buds, go golfing. And eventually they started talking a little bit about business. Like, hey, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And Brian at the time was starting up his coaching business. So he welcomed my brother and I to join really as kind of like a trial run. He would coach us up. Mm-hmm. And I give a lot of credit to Brian. He was a great mentor and taught us a lot. So his whole really what he did, and he owned over 100 houses, and it was all about 12 houses to freedom was kind of his mantra. Mm-hmm. You do the BRRRR strategy 12 times, you get about $300 a door monthly. That puts you at about $3,600 per door or per month.
Yep.
And that's enough money to cover your basic expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of how we started seeing that. And being the entrepreneurs, we see real estate as an avenue to other businesses as well down the road.
Did you start by looking at properties in Pennsylvania, or did you start in Alabama?
We started in Alabama.
Okay. Why Alabama? Talk about that journey a little bit.
So we started, I think it was late 2018. Just like, learning about real estate and whatnot. And finally got to the point probably early 2019 of buying a house. So we looked in different markets. We were torn between a couple different ones, but we thought Huntsville, Alabama at the time was just popping. They had FBI had just announced that they were going to be moving 5,000 employees down there and making it their headquarters. Honda had put another 4,000 person plant down there. And there was a couple big time, like we always laugh, but like Top Golf.
Yep.
They do their homework. So if you see like a smaller size city with Top Golf, odds are that that's probably a spot that's projected to grow pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard, interesting that you say it, because I was talking with somebody who had a franchise. I can't remember what industry they're in, but one of their ramifications is they wanted to be near a Starbucks because they knew that a certain amount of foot traffic comes to Starbucks. And if you're in the same complex as a Starbucks, I just can't remember what the business is off of the top of my head, but they're then going to be more likely to come visit you. So you're essentially mooching off of the client draw of a Starbucks. So that totally makes sense. Like, you know, if Topgolf does their research determining where they're going to put their locations, yeah, certain businesses can benefit from all the R&D that these larger companies put into site selection. Yeah, Huntsville, Alabama. Cool.
Huntsville, Alabama. And this was pre-COVID, you know, everything was sunny and perfect,
Mm-hmm.
which it still is and always was. But, you know, we didn't anticipate COVID to happen. So we went in and we bought up our first property. Didn't actually go too well, which
was this single family or multifamily?
We were buying a single family that was going to had the frameworks for a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
So we met with our contractor. We actually flew down and met our contractor. He was a good dude. We met him, met his team. We're like, all right, let's do this. He gave us a quote for about 30 grand. We gave him, I think, $5,000 up front to start it. Never heard from him again. And never, like literally never once again did he return a phone call. And this guy turned out to be an ex-con. And we just didn't read it. He came off as a good guy. He had a house that he was renovating. So he does do some business somewhere. But basically, when we went to find another contractor, because we were still excited about the property we had purchased, we got quotes for $80,000 or $90,000. So he was way off on his estimate, probably realized it and just walked away with the money. For one lesson learned that we already knew, because I was in engineering and actually was a contractor. So don't put too much money down initially with a contractor. Which
vendor selection.
We did not make that mistake.
Yep.
But I would say if you're out of state or don't truly, you know, walk the property with the guy, maybe get 2 quotes or 3 quotes. Lessons learned on that one. We ended up selling it. We bought it for such a good value that we actually were just about breaking even after all the fees and everything. Then we bought a few more down in Huntsville. We did a seller finance deal where we had to bring 20% to the table on 3 properties. And we found another investor to cover that 20%. Yeah, it was a friend of a friend. We had just asked a bunch of people if they knew anyone that was interested in passive income through real estate. So we locked in a deal with him. He covered the 20%. And then we were able to buy 3 houses in seller financing with really $0 down. And that
were all 3 properties owned by the same person, or it was 3 different owners?
Yeah, it was the same person. It was a deal. They had shot us. And if I could go back and talk to myself, I would have bought more. You know, that Wolf of Wall Street line. They're like, the only thing you're going to be saying is, I wish I bought more. And I wish we did, because COVID happened soon after that and the market went nuts. So that specific market in Huntsville, we saw properties double and triple in value that we had. So that really was able to skyrocket our real estate career from there.
Can we just talk about the seller financing conversation quick? Because I know a lot of people are going to have questions about this. How does that conversation go with somebody? Because I hear so many people say, I'd love to do seller financing, but I don't know how. So kind of walk through what that discussion looked like for you.
It was actually my brother who initially had the conversation. It was a property manager who owned a ton of properties. And really with seller financing, the biggest goal, and I built this spreadsheet that kind of forecasts what the projected cash flows would look like, but break it down into terms where you have a percentage up front, ideally 0, but usually you'll pay something up front.
Yep.
And this person typically owns the property outright, so they don't have an actual mortgage. And what you're doing is you're treating them like the bank. So instead of me going to get financing, I'm just going to be paying you, seller, over the course of whatever term we decided. So in this case, it was a 5-year term that we had with him, 20% down. And then we just managed it where the monthly payments were less than probably about 75 to 50%. I like to stay in that range of the monthly rent that we're getting in. And that allows you to cash flow on it immediately once you get in the property. And then you have a balloon payment in the end. So the biggest thing with the balloon is that you're either buying it at a discount, or that you're confident in the appreciation that will go, or a combination of putting aside the rental income. So we had a combination of that. We were had a separate account where we were putting a lot of the rental income that we'd be getting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was gonna be our plan. We never even ended up getting to the 5-year term because they tripled in value and we sold them.
So that's Huntsville. So now you're out in Huntsville. You've essentially cashed out.
Yeah, I would say for now. And then really the market got pretty hot. It was a good time to buy when we got in, and then it got to the point where the numbers didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just big cash flow guys. We're not sitting on a huge chunk of change or anything like that. We don't come from a ton of money. We're not really playing the appreciation game. We're more of cash flow and then hope the appreciation comes.
Okay, so then you guys turned your gaze to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we turned our gaze to really Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, and my brother did, I think he did one wholesale deal in Colorado. I bought a duplex here in Colorado, but then most of the focus got shifted towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh, for me, it was a market. I'd done a ton of research, and originally I was going to do Tampa, Florida, and got in there for about a month and was looking at a lot of deals, and I didn't like the ratio of rent to what the actual investment would be. So then when I started looking at other markets and whatnot, and a great way to look is just hop on a Facebook page, from whatever town you're looking at. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just the numbers were pretty awesome from what I was seeing. You can get into a property for, I just got a duplex sent to me yesterday, $105,000. It's going to be cost to get in. They're both currently rented for $1,600.
That's great.
So that's a killer deal. And I just heard it yesterday, and I was luckily to be the first person to hear about it. The guy just texted me, and I'm looking for an investor partner right now to lock it in. So we're just trying to get as many deals as coming in and churning and burning.
So your strategy is you're looking to partner with investors, more than likely, probably more passive investors, essentially looking at, okay, I've got capital. I don't know what to do with it. And so I've always wanted to invest in real estate. Maybe I don't want to learn how. Talk about maybe the profile type of person of what you're looking for to help partner with you on these properties.
Yeah. So I'm an engineer, and I think, Mike, I shared with you that spreadsheet that I had built. I really kind of look at myself almost like a real estate weatherman, if you could say. I model what the deals are going to look like in the future. I'm not predicting the future as far as what's going to happen to the markets, but I know if I have a specific property and I lock it in at a specific price, what should happen over a 10, 15-year term, 5, 10, whatever term. So I took that spreadsheet, and I've been able to find other people who are looking to passively invest. And I'm looking for really anyone that is a accredited investor. The people that we typically see are people that have some sort of remote experience in real estate that want to put their money in it. They don't necessarily want to be involved in it, but they have enough to pick out what deals they want, which is pretty cool, because if you're investing in some real estate fund, you don't know the specific properties you're buying.
Right.
But if you're working with someone like myself, I'll hop on a Zoom one-on-one with you and share this model I have, like the deal I just mentioned. I have it already in the spreadsheet where I can show you, name a month, and I can show you what your return should be at that month. And these people are able to look at those deals one-on-one and say, yeah, I want to do this one. I don't want to do that one. And typical investment we're looking for, it varies. It definitely varies. Like we're looking at a seven units right now. That would be 15 doors. And that investment we're looking for is about $250,000. But other ones we're looking at, I'm doing a deal where we're closing on Thursday. It was $20,000 for the investor to put into it. And he's going to get probably about $30,000 to $35,000 back in 3 to 4 months. So he's getting an awesome return.
Yeah.
And, a piece of me is like, oh, Austin, why don't you just do that? Like, why do I bring in an investor and just keep his money? And really it's because it allows us to do a lot more. We just bought one 2 weeks ago where we didn't bring in an investor, and we covered more of the down payment. And you just can't do those all the time. You can't be continuously dumping out your money and getting it back. Eventually, I'd like to be at that point, but where our stage is right now, we find great deals and bring in people who have the money to get them, and it's worth sharing the pie that way.
Yeah, speed and scalability, and
Yes.
you're bringing the acquisition to the table because you can find a good deal. And yeah, you don't want to be limited by, hey, my cash is tied up right now. What you want to be able to do is say yes to every good deal that comes along. You just have to line up enough partners to say, okay, let's just say I've got 10 partners here and good deal comes my way. Okay, this partner just invested in the last deal, so now I'll look to this other partner. Or each of them have also different criteria, different things they like investing in, different types of properties, maybe certain locations too. And so I know, at least for me, the investors that we work with, I always talk about how I'm kind of like a little bit of a matchmaker here, where you want to match up a right fit investment for the right person. And so, yeah, you and your brother want to just be able to say, yes, how many can I do, and not be held up by the money. And yeah, as the pie grows faster, you're going to be able to take advantage of that versus saying, hey, my cash is tied up right now. I have to say no to this next investment because I can't fund it myself. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just trying to look at every deal. What is our limiting reagent? What is it going to be that's going to slow us down? And then really that's what we just try. It's kind of how we've been growing our business. Just what is it that's going to slow us down? And then how do we get that out of the way? And what's the next one? The specific numbers on this one deal that we're closing on probably Thursday. So we're getting into the house for $24,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be putting in about $55,000 worth of rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty good rehab. It certainly needs a little bit of foundation work. It needs we're knocking down some walls. Look, we're doing the whole home improvement type of deal. Like, all right, if we cut this wall down and take these floors out, move the door over here, knock that wall down, all that jazz. But it's not me doing that. It's my contractor. So I was with my contractor, actually flew into Pittsburgh, met with him, and we talked through this whole thing and got that lined up. So once I had the numbers, we're in at all in $75,000. So I brought in financing on my end where I financed 90% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab. So really I was only looking for about, like, after closing costs and everything, it was about $9,000 that we were going to have to put out of pocket, which we looked at the option. We could do it, but we decided, talking about scalability, instead of tying up that money for X amount of time, we wanted to bring in an investor partner. So we did that. He covered the closing costs, and then our business, we need to keep running as well. We're not making money on this transaction for 3 or 4 months. So we had to bring in a money partner also that was able to give us a management fee. And really it works out where he was able to give us a fee up front, cover the down payment, and then he's a 50-50 partner on the flip with us. So he's going to get his money back real quick. We're going to make a good amount of money. We got our money up front and on the backside. It's just about creating win-win scenarios, really.
Yeah. And then that allows you too to be able to go pour more money into finding more and better deals as well. Because that's essentially the oxygen here of what you guys need, is to find great deals to put in front of people that they're going to say yes to. And so that's where having a management fee or being able to keep that oxygen mask on so that the next deal that comes up is an easy yes for the investor versus that's kind of where you could be limited in the future too, from a scalability perspective, is finding those good deals. So you need to invest in lead gen, right?
Yep, exactly. And we've got that, we run our own marketing. That's how I sourced the deal that I had there. Wholesalers, certainly you can find good deals from them, but I think a lot of the deals we've done recently are all through ones that we sourced directly. Yeah, it's also nice when you're just talking with a seller and you're not a wholesaler, and you're like, hey, I will buy this property at this price, and you got to walk them through what your numbers are. But where you're not slapping another wholesale fee on top of it, you're able to really compete probably more than your average person could with what you're willing to pay, just because you're cutting out the middleman.
So how does that conversation work with a seller here? Just to give people, not going too deep into the weeds, but you get a lead somehow from a seller looking to sell. Kind of what are your main points that you're covering in that initial conversation with them?
Yeah, it's different every time, but the main goal is to understand what their goals are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about asking questions. I try to keep it where I'm asking questions and keep them talking about 75% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's talked to a bunch of different people, you got to keep them focused, because you can be talking to people all day long and get nothing accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're asking pointed questions and set the parameter where I've got about half an hour right now to do this call, it can go so many different ways, but typically you're trying to uncover what their true reason is for selling. If they clicked on one of my ads, there's a reason they did. Why is that? Down to a core, like what they might not even know sometimes why they clicked on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just by asking enough questions, eventually you'll get to that implication of buying their house. Like, how is this going to truly help you? And by driving that in, it almost gets them excited to sell it.
Yeah.
And not arbitrarily. Like, you're not like, swindling them or anything. You're being truthful. You truly understand what their goals are, and you're providing a solution for them, so they get excited about it.
And I think that that's one of the things that sometimes people don't understand about working with investors is you truly are helping them solve a problem. If people want to list on the MLS, it's because they want to maximize time. They're okay with people being in their house, and their house is in a condition that is probably worth having people come in. Sometimes people don't want people in their house. COVID's a great example of that.
Yep.
I ran across a seller who has a grandchild in their home that was just born 2 weeks ago. And he's like, look, I'm sorry, not willing to risk having strangers come in my house and have my first grandchild be susceptible to picking up an illness from people coming in the house. So that's real, right? And yet the timeline is they're looking to sell. And so you're providing a solution, you're helping them, but they don't want to list on the MLS. They don't want people to come to their house. So you're helping them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's always a trade-off, try to be as upfront as possible as well with them. The reason that you're selling more on MLS is because those people aren't trying to make money off your house. You're able to sell to a family who's really excited about living there and whatnot. And whether it's a flip or a buy and hold, from an investor's standpoint, you just got to be real with them. Like, look, I'm not going to live in this house. I'm going to try and make money off of it, but we got to come to a win-win scenario where you can feel comfortable about the price that, you're selling it for. And I'm going to still, make money on it. Try to be realistic too. You're not making crazy amounts of money.
So what does the future hold then? So now you guys are picking up steam. You've got investors that you're working with. You've found some great properties. So where would you like to see this go here moving forward in the next couple of years?
Mike, I'd say we're going bigger. We're trying to get into the multifamily game, where we're already starting to look at them, but we're looking at anywhere between probably 25 and 200 units. I would be interested in getting into, where the SLP deals, we probably would be, I call it SLP, but where we're bringing on a money partner. It's easier with a multifamily. Honestly, it's this exact same process as this small $20,000, $24,000 house. It's just, you're making much more returns. There's
better
more
economies of scale.
Exactly. So it just makes more sense for us to go down that route. And really our end game is to get to that point where we have passive income as well as a good network of this built up. Real estate's funny. It's a lot of heavy lifting in the beginning, and then it gets easier. You have the contacts, you have the relationships, you have the processes, you have all the contracts. Everything is kind of done for you, and you're able to, allocate your time elsewhere. So my end goal, what I studied in engineering, was to be just really renewable energy. I think that's still a huge focus of mine, and it should be for, I think, the world, but it's not talked about enough still. There's a lot of other things going on, so I understand, but just going back into that, and this is getting deep here, but if you look at, I was working in corporate America, and I could have worked 20, 30 years, been a VP or even a CEO after a 30-year span, and climb the corporate ladder and maybe could make a few policy changes or a few different changes, as far as running the company.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can get my own wealth through another avenue, real estate investing, and then be an investor in these small startup companies and whatnot that are renewable energy, I think that's really where you can actually make true changes. So that's kind of been my reason for my why, you could say, of why real estate.
That's great. And to see the journey that you've been on, the different iterations that you've gone through. Do you know the number off the top of your head between flips and holds and that kind of stuff? How many properties you guys have done?
It's not a crazy amount. I think it's like 7.
And selecting the right ones can really matter. And you've obviously now you're building up momentum. You've got more irons in the fire, bigger deals, more deals. It's exciting to see it just keep chipping away, and it grows and grows and grows, and you build momentum and find more partners and keep going.
Yeah. Momentum is key. I mean, we did those deals in Alabama, and then COVID happened. We were kind of sad a little bit. We're like, okay, what do we do here?
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw the values going up. We were able to sell them. And now we're kind of like, I was able to leave my job, retool. And now, our volume is going to be hopefully 1 to 2 deals a month we're working for.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your journey. I know there's a lot of people that aren't willing to take the risk, maybe see the problems that can come up versus the rewards. And you're just a great example of you and your brother just continuing to press on, move forward, get better, and grow. So excited to see where the future takes you.
Yeah, no, we're ecstatic to be where we are, and appreciate you having us on, Mike. If anyone does want to reach out to me, I was joking earlier, I do have like social media and whatnot, but it's not really from a business standpoint. So shoot me over an email and I'll see it. austinhill.smi@gmail.com. So austinhill.smi.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's exciting to see you build and grow, and you guys are going to kill it in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much.